It's become a political must-do. That's why Democratic presidential hopefuls were in Selma, Alabama for the 55th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. Tom Steyer just recently suspended his quest for the White House.
Actually, this is really a seminal American story about people standing up against injustice and showing the whole world what nonviolent resistance looks like. It's really the civil rights story, in essence. And anybody who's an American should understand how important that struggle was and how, the struggle for justice has been there from the very beginning of this country.
It's still important?
Oh my God. It's still going on. This fight is by no means close to over. And this is an inspiration. Here are people who really were at the crucible. It's incredibly important, incredibly moving, and incredibly relevant today.
Tom Steyer suspends his presidential campaign but keeps on going. You're an activist now? Tell me, what's this new thing?
Look, I've been doing this for decades. Seriously. People were talking this morning about the need for, finance banks that support, African Americans, black, brown, women. We started a bank like that 15 years ago. Yeah. People are talking about the need to register and engage voters. We've been doing that for almost 10 years. All the things that people are talking about. Faith without works is dead. We've been doing works.
Steyer and SCLC President Dr. Charles Steele Jr. have become allies. The late SCLC leader, Reverend Hosea Williams, led the first march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. He and Congressman John Lewis were viciously protesting for African American voting rights.
And to have Mr. Steyer, Mrs. Steyer here because of what they stand for, this is just the beginning in terms of evolving where we should be as a citizenry throughout the world.
Faye Rose Saunders has led the Bridge Crossing Jubilee for 28 years.
This is a vote or die election, but people will come across the bridge today. But it's not about protest and demand. It's just a commemoration. To me, it's much more than that.
Her daughter, Alabama State Senator Malika Saunders Foster, calls Selma the soul of the nation. Congresswoman Terry Sewell said our vote is our voice, while Fair Fight founder Stacey Abrams recalled her grandmother was afraid to vote.
She and my grandparents, my grandfather, my great uncle, they were getting dressed up because at the time we used to dress up to go vote. They were putting on their Sunday best because they were about to perform history. But my grandmother was sitting in her room, and that day she didn't want to get dressed, she didn't want to go. And she told me the story. I said, Grandma, why were you not dressed? And she said, I was afraid. I was afraid because I remember the guns and the hoses. I remember the nightsticks and the dogs. And the thing was, she didn't believe that those things had passed. She didn't believe that her right to vote was real. She didn't believe that what had happened on the Edmund Pettus Bridge had led to Hattiesburg, Mississippi having the right to vote.
Martin King III says this is the most important election of his lifetime.
There's nothing more important that we can talk about than getting out to vote, because a voteless people, and we know this in Selma, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, is a powerless people. And one of the most important steps that we must take is that short step to the ballot box. Every election here, I talk about how important an election is. I must say, however, I really believe this, not of the election. Yes, it was very important to get President Obama elected, but it was important of the election. But I don't know if there's a more important election in my lifetime than this upcoming election.
For we are always what our situation hands us. It's either sadness or euphoria. Sadness or euphoria.
So I want to say, as a white guy from California, that I am humbled and honored and inspired to be here with you. I want to thank Reverend Hardy and Dr. Steele, so much for having me here today. I want to say that I've been traveling this country for 8 years doing political organizing, and for the last 8 months running for president. And what I've seen and what I've said is that the moral leadership of the United States comes from the African American community. And it comes, I mean, for goodness sakes, we're in the place, we're on the day for the leadership, the moral leadership of this country, not just for the African American community, but for every single person in this country. We owe you a gigantic debt of gratitude. And let me say, I write a cross on my hand every day to remind myself to tell the truth, to do what's right, even if they put me on the cross. And that's where I am. And what I've seen traveling this country, I think everybody knows, is deep economic injustice. I mean, we see it in healthcare, and we see it in education, we see it in housing, we see it in criminal justice. We see cruelty across the board. And people are putting out proposals to deal with those issues, but what I tried to bring to this campaign was the awareness that every single one of those issues has a deep, unspoken racial undertone, that unless we call it out and name it and deal with it straightforwardly, we're not going to deal with the underlying problem either. That there's no way to talk about economic injustice in this country without talking about racial injustice. I think I'm the only person. I'm for reparations for slavery. And I'm for reparations for slavery because I'm for the truth. I put the cross on my hand. Tell the truth. Do what's right.
John Lewis made a brief appearance despite his fight to survive cancer. He's here every year. That's why efforts are underway to rename the bridge in his honor. I'm Maynard Eaton, reporting from Selma, Alabama.